February 7, 1997. A husband never came home. His burned-out car was discovered in a remote wooded area outside Gwinnett County, Georgia. What police and the feds found next was deep-seated betrayal, manipulation, and murder that a community is still trying to recover from. The investigation would reveal that Douglas Gissendaner's death was no random crime as it was initially made to seem. Someone close to him, someone who should have protected him, had orchestrated every deadly detail. 18 years later, a woman would face the ultimate consequence for her actions. Her final moments would divide a nation between those who saw a manipulative killer and those who witnessed a genuine transformation behind bars. This is the story of Kelly Gissendaner, a case that completely destroys everything we think we know about justice, redemption, and the price of betrayal. Let's examine the evidence, the investigation, and a reckoning that was nearly 2 decades in the making. Kelly Renee Brookshire was born February 13, 1968, into a world that would never quite fit her ambitions. By 1989, she had found Douglas Gissendaner, a steady, reliable man who represented everything she thought she wanted. They married on September 2nd. He was her anchor. She would become his destruction. Their first marriage lasted for turbulent years. Financial pressure mounted as jobs disappeared and bills accumulated. Douglas joined the army, and they were sent to Germany. Kelly became pregnant by another man who later died of cancer. She and Douglas were divorced in 1993. The betrayal was complete, documented, undeniable. Yet Douglas returned to her. In May 1995, she remarried Douglas. Hope conquered experience. Love overruled logic. The second attempt at marriage would prove even more catastrophic than the first. Kelly racked up debt while Doug was serving overseas in the military, and when he returned, she made a habit of disappearing for days at a time. Kelly and Douglas Gissendaner had an off-and-on relationship that started in the late 1980s that included multiple separations, a divorce and remarriage leading up to December 1996, when they bought a house together in Auburn, a small town at the Barrow and Gwinnett counties line. The house purchase in December 1996 suggested reconciliation. It masked conspiracy. Kelly Gissendaner and Greg Owens met in 1995, and by November 1996, Kelly had convinced him the only way they would be together was if Doug was out of the picture. Owen told police weeks after Doug's killing. Gregory Bruce Owen, born March 17, 1971, was younger than Douglas. Impressionable, manipulable. Phone records showed that she and Greg Owens talked to each other 47 times during the days before Doug was murdered, and unlike what Kelly had told detectives about Owen constantly calling her, Kelly had initiated the calls 18 times. The evidence would later reveal a pattern of calculated manipulation spanning months. Kelly envisioned a sizable life insurance payout and keeping the house and her kids, all while getting to start fresh with Owen. The mathematics were simple. The morality was absent. 3 people formed this triangle of destruction. Douglas, the devoted husband trying to rebuild his marriage. Kelly, the orchestrator calculating profit from death. Owen, the weapon she would wield against the man who loved her most. Douglas Gissendaner was 30 years old. Kelly was 28. 3 children called them parents. None of them knew their mother was orchestrating their father's death. The plan was surgical in its simplicity, devastating in its execution. Kelly brought Owen to her house and armed him with a nightstick and a 6 to 8-inch hunting knife. She would establish an alibi. He would commit murder. Both would profit from Douglas's death. Owen's reluctance was documented, measurable, real. Phone records would later reveal Kelly's relentless psychological manipulation in the days leading to February 7th. 47 phone calls between them. Each conversation, another brick in the wall of conspiracy. Each word, another step toward homicide. Douglas Gissendaner worked as a mechanic. He had served his country in the army. He was trying to rebuild his marriage for the second time, believing love could conquer their troubled history. He had no idea his wife was planning his funeral while he planned their future. The choreography was perfect. Kelly went out drinking with friends that night. Her alibi. She laughed. She socialized. She performed the role of devoted wife, taking a rare night out while her husband stayed home. Every witness would later confirm her presence. Every smile was calculated evidence. Meanwhile, Owen waited. The weapons lay ready. The plan was set in motion. Kelly had convinced Owen that Douglas was the only obstacle to their happiness. Remove the husband, inherit the life insurance, keep the house, start fresh. The mathematics of murder were simple. The moral calculation was absent. When Doug returned home that night, Owen was waiting in the darkness. The father of three had no warning, no chance to fight, no opportunity to escape. The attack was swift and brutal. Owen struck Douglas in the head with a nightstick. The blow rendered Douglas unconscious, but not dead. What followed would haunt the crime scene investigators for years. Owen forced Douglas to a wooded area in Gwinnett County near Harbins Park. The journey from home to execution site took minutes. Douglas was helpless, bleeding, unaware his wife had orchestrated his final ride. After striking Douglas in the head with a nightstick, Owen stabbed Douglas in the neck and back multiple times. The medical examiner found that Douglas had suffered blunt trauma and knife wounds to the neck and chest area. The severity of the wounds indicated the killer acted out of anger, according to investigators. The stabbing was frenzied, excessive, personal. Owen later claimed he lost control. The evidence suggested calculation rather than passion. Douglas Gissendaner died in agony in the Georgia woods, while his wife maintained her alibi miles away. Kelly's performance that evening was flawless. She drank with friends. She laughed at jokes. She checked her watch, calculating the timeline of murder. When enough time had passed, she made her exit. The alibi was complete. Greg Owen alleged Kelly Gissendaner helped him burn the car and dispose of the body. The evidence would later support this claim. Kelly arrived at the murder scene not as a shock discovery, but as an active participant in covering up the crime. They burned Douglas's car to destroy evidence. They positioned his body to suggest a different narrative. Every action was designed to mislead investigators and protect the conspirators. It was February 20th, 1997, when they found Kelly Gissendaner's husband. He was slouched over his knees in the mud and the leaves. 13 days after the murder. 13 days of Kelly playing the concerned wife, filing missing person reports, comforting her children. The discovery scene was haunting. Douglas Gissendaner, Army veteran and devoted father, reduced to remains in a remote wooded area. Since the cash remained, we ruled out any kind of a robbery. Investigators noted immediately. Kelly's grief performance was Oscar-worthy. She wept for the cameras. She pleaded for information about her missing husband. She comforted their children while knowing exactly where Douglas lay and exactly who had put him there. The investigation began immediately. It only took police a couple of weeks to cut to the truth. Kelly's perfect plan had imperfect execution. Phone records would expose the conspiracy. Owen's conscience would provide the confession. The widow's performance would crumble under scrutiny. 3 children lost their father to murder and their mother to execution. All because Kelly Gissendaner valued money over marriage, convenience over commitment, murder over morality. It only took police a couple of weeks to cut to the truth. The Gwinnett County Police Department investigation moved with surgical precision. Kelly's performance was flawless. Her lies were not. The inconsistencies began immediately. Kelly claimed she was out with friends while Douglas vanished. True. She insisted she had no contact with Gregory Owen. False. Detectives subpoenaed her phone records and found she had called and texted Greg at least 47 times. The evidence was digital, undeniable, devastating. Owen cracked first. The pressure mounted. His alibi crumbled. At first, Owen refused to answer any questions, but when a plea deal was brought to the table stating that he would get life with parole after 25 years, rather than a possible death sentence if he testified against Kelly, he quickly agreed and began confessing. The confession changed everything. Owen detailed the murder. He described Kelly's manipulation. He admitted Kelly provided the weapons. Owen alleged Kelly helped him burn the car and dispose of the body. The conspiracy unraveled thread by thread. Gissendaner was arrested for murder on February 25, 1997. That day, Gissendaner called Pamela Kogut, saying, "I did it." However, Gissendaner also told her that Owen held a knife to her and said he would kill her and the children if she told anybody about it. Even in confession, Kelly tried to manipulate the narrative. Victim became villain. Truth became performance. The physical evidence supported Owen's testimony. Phone records proved the conspiracy. Kelly's web of lies collapsed completely. November 1998, Gwinnett County Courthouse. Kelly Gissendaner faced justice for orchestrating her husband's murder. Owen's testimony was damning. Owen testified at Gissendaner's trial that it was she who first raised the idea of murder, and that she later raised the idea again several other times. At Gissendaner's trial, Owen testified that Kelly provided the knife used in the murder. The mastermind was exposed. Kelly's defense attempted to portray her as another victim. They argued domestic abuse. They claimed coercion. The jury wasn't convinced. The evidence was overwhelming. The manipulation was clear. Gissendaner rejected the same deal offered Owen and went to trial, where she was convicted by a Gwinnett County jury. The verdict came swift and certain. Guilty of murder. Guilty of conspiracy. Guilty of orchestrating her husband's death. Kelly Renee Gissendaner was sentenced to death in Georgia on November 20th, 1998. She became the only woman on Georgia's death row. The mastermind would pay the ultimate price, while her weapon, Gregory Owen, received life with the possibility of parole. Justice had spoken. The choreographer of murder would face execution. Prison walls witnessed an extraordinary metamorphosis. Kelly Gissendaner's dramatic spiritual transformation since her conviction in 1997 drew attention from Christians calling for clemency. The woman who orchestrated murder found God behind bars. The death row inmate who once manipulated lovers into murder now counseled women through addiction. Prison ministry became her calling. Faith replaced fury. Yet questions lingered about authenticity versus survival instinct. September 2015 arrived with mechanical precision. Kelly Gissendaner, 47, faced execution scheduled for 7 p.m. She requested her final meal, cheese dip with chips, Texas fajita nachos, and a diet frosted lemonade. Not the elaborate feast some imagined. Simple comfort food for final consumption. Prison kitchen prepared the condemned woman's last earthly pleasure. Children arrived for final visits. Spiritual advisors offered counsel. Media conducted final interviews. Witness lists finalized. She was pronounced dead by injection of pentobarbital at 12:21 a.m. September 30th, 2015. Her voice carried through sterile air. Gissendaner cried, prayed, sang Amazing Grace, and said, "And I love you, Sally. And I love you, Susan. You let my kids know I went out singing Amazing Grace." Her final words were reported to be, "Bless you all. Tell the Gissendaners, I am so sorry that an amazing man lost his life because of me. If I could take it all back, I would." Jeff Hollinger, a journalist with NBC station WXIA who witnessed the execution, later told reporters that Gissendaner appeared very emotional. "I was struck by that." Lethal injection commenced. Georgia executed her first woman executed since 1945. Death completed what murder began 18 years earlier. Questions about redemption, justice, and transformation died with her.